The cameras were always watching, but they never truly saw. To the world, Wang Yibo was a study in cool indifference, a man of few words, sharp focus, and a demeanor that bordered on icy. His public smiles were polite, fleeting, and never reached his eyes. His fans, his colleagues, his interviewers, everyone had learned to accept this. It was his brand, his reality, the unassailable fortress of his privacy. But a quiet, mind-blowing truth existed in the spaces between the frames, a secret language known only to one other person. The mind-blowing scene didn't happen on a stage or in a photo shoot. It unfolded in the mundane chaos of a joint commercial shoot, a place of controlled frenzy. Wang Yibo was on set, his face a mask of practiced neutrality as he ran through his part. The director, exasperated by a technical glitch, called for a long break. Yibo, ever the professional, simply walked to a corner, put on his headphones, and started practicing a new dance move, his expression focused and intense. Meanwhile, a few feet away, Xiao Zhan was waiting for his turn. He watched Yibo from across the room, a small, affectionate smile on his face. He knew the world saw a cold, detached artist. He saw a man who was meticulously, perfectly in his element. He knew better than to interrupt, but something in the moment felt different. He watched Yibo's subtle movements, the way his body moved with an impossible fluidity, and a single, sudden idea struck him. He quietly pulled out his phone, and without a word, he began to play a song. Not a popular pop tune, but a deep cut from an obscure, forgotten video game. It was a melody from Wang Yibo's childhood, a looping, whimsical tune that few people would recognize, but one that Xiao Zhan knew, from an offhand comment years ago, held a deep, nostalgic significance for him. The music was a ghost, barely audible over the chatter of the crew, but it was enough. Wang Yibo's movements didn't stop. His body, in a display of impossible muscle memory, continued to dance to the new beat. But something in his face shifted. The cool indifference, the sharp focus, it began to soften around the edges. A flicker of something else, something deeply personal and vulnerable, crossed his features. It was a look that spoke of a private joke, a forgotten memory, a shared world. The music continued, and Wang Yibo, still moving as if in a trance, slowly turned his head. His eyes found Xiao Zhan's across the room. Xiao Zhan held up his phone, a simple, mischievous grin on his face. And in that moment, the world of the film set, the directors, the crew, the cameras, it all melted away. The cold, unapproachable star's face broke. It wasn't a smile of politeness, or a smile for the cameras. It was a slow, beautiful, and utterly genuine smile that started in his eyes. It was a smile that creased the corners, a smile that radiated a warmth so profound it seemed to light up his entire being. It was a smile of pure, unbridled joy, a smile reserved for the one person who knew his past, who understood his silent language, who could reach him across a crowded room with a forgotten melody. The cameras, for once, missed it. They were still focused on the action, still waiting for a command. But a few crew members, standing in the periphery, saw it. They saw the sudden, impossible transformation, a crack in the icy facade that revealed a well of profound, radiant happiness. They saw a flash of a bond that was so deep, so intimate, it couldn't be captured on film. Later, in a quiet corner of the set, Xiao Zhan handed Wang Yibo his earphones. "I thought you might need to hear something that isn't on the schedule," he said, his voice soft. Wang Yibo took the earphones, his fingers brushing against Xiao Zhan's. He didn't say a word, didn't have to. The smile, though no longer on his face, was a warm, lingering echo in his eyes. The world would continue to see his polite, cool demeanor. But Xiao Zhan would always know that somewhere, in the quiet places of his heart, a beautiful, secret smile was always waiting for him. The cameras, which had so spectacularly failed to capture the truth, were now rolling again, capturing the same, familiar scene. Wang Yibo, a study in professional detachment, moved with his usual precise energy, his face a mask of practiced neutrality. The crew, none the wiser, marveled at his focus. But to Xiao Zhan, watching from the sidelines, the air around Yibo was no longer cool. It was infused with a gentle warmth, a quiet, lingering echo of the smile that had just appeared and vanished. He saw the subtle glint in Yibo's eyes, a hint of a private joy that hadn't quite faded. Later, as they reviewed the footage together, a few candid shots of Yibo revealed his cool public face, a contrast to the reality that Xiao Zhan now held as his most treasured secret. He realized then that the smile wasn't just a rare expression, it was an act of profound vulnerability. It was a trust fall. Wang Yibo, the man who built walls of ice around his public persona, had allowed them to melt, for a moment, for him alone. It was his way of saying, "You see me. The real me." The smile was not a reaction. It was a confession, a silent, beautiful admission of a love so deep it could only be expressed in a way that defied the cameras and the public eye. It was a gift, a secret key to his inner world, and Xiao Zhan held it with a reverence that felt almost sacred. The next mind-blowing scene didn't happen on a soundstage, but in the blinding flash of an awards ceremony red carpet. The air was a chaotic symphony of fan screams and camera clicks. Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan were walking the carpet separately, maintaining their public distance. A seasoned reporter, known for her sharp wit, tried her luck with Yibo. "Wang Yibo," she called out, her voice loud and clear. "Everyone wants to know, what makes you smile?" She followed it with a cheesy, pre-rehearsed joke. Yibo, ever the professional, gave his signature public smile, a quick, polite curve of his lips that didn't reach his eyes. It was a public signal of his good humor, but nothing more. The cameras ate it up, but it felt hollow. Then, a moment later, as another reporter asked Xiao Zhan a question about his artistic inspiration, something changed. Xiao Zhan, in the middle of a thoughtful answer, gestured to the crowd, his face open and kind, his eyes alight with genuine warmth as he spoke of his fans. And in that unguarded moment, a candid camera, meant to be focused on Xiao Zhan, caught the profile of Wang Yibo just a few feet away. His gaze was fixed on Xiao Zhan. He wasn't looking at the reporter, or the fans, or the flashing lights. He was looking at the man he loved, seeing him in his element, his joy shining for the world to see. And a flicker, a profound, beautiful shift, crossed Wang Yibo's face. It wasn't a public smile in response to a joke. It was a quiet, private, and utterly genuine reaction to the person in front of him. The smile that started in his eyes, the same one that had appeared on the soundstage, slowly but surely spread across his face. It was radiant, unbidden, and completely for Xiao Zhan. It was a visible, undeniable confession. The mind-blowing truth was that his smile wasn't for the cameras. It was for the one person who could make him forget they were even there. The red carpet, the thousands of screaming fans, the press, it all melted away, and for one perfect, unguarded moment, the entire world was a soundstage, and his face was an open book for one person to read. His rare smile, once a secret, was now a public, undeniable truth, a testament to a love that was too big to be contained. The camera, with a hunger that belied its silent nature, had captured it all. The viral image was no longer of a polite, fleeting smile, but of something else entirely. A genuine, unbidden grin that started in Wang Yibo's eyes and radiated outward. It was a smile of pure, unguarded joy, directed at nothing more than the sight of Xiao Zhan. The moment was so brief, so effortlessly natural, that it was impossible to fake. And the public, which had spent months dissecting their every move, finally had an answer that was more powerful than any rumor. The answer was in his face. This time, the media frenzy was different. It wasn't about cryptic symbols or a battle of wits. The headlines weren't speculative, they were definitive. They celebrated the rare smile that had finally been seen. The world, which had grown accustomed to Yibo's cool demeanor, was now captivated by a vulnerability they had never seen before. The unapproachable king had a soft spot, and that soft spot had a name. In the quiet aftermath, away from the blinding lights and the noise, Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan sat in a dimly lit room, the image of the rare smile glowing on a tablet screen. Xiao Zhan watched it, his heart swelling with a mixture of awe and fear. "They finally saw it," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "They saw your smile, the one you only save for us." Wang Yibo looked at the screen, a small, knowing smile on his face. Not the rare one, but a private one, reserved just for this moment. He took Xiao Zhan's hand, his fingers lacing with his. "I didn't try to hide it," he said, his voice low and firm. "I couldn't. It just happened." This was the ultimate revelation. The mind-blowing twist wasn't about the world seeing the smile. It was about the fact that Yibo had, in that moment, stopped trying to contain it. He had spent years building a fortress around his emotions, believing that his private world needed to be a secret to be safe. But in that unguarded moment, watching the man he loved, he realized that a love so profound couldn't be contained. It wasn't a secret to be hidden. It was a force that would inevitably manifest itself in the world. My smile isn't a gesture I make, Wang Yibo continued, his voice softer now. It's a reaction to the safest place in the world. And that's you. He looked at Xiao Zhan with a tenderness that could only exist between them. I was afraid to show it before, he confessed, because I thought if the world saw it, they would break it. But they can't. They can't break something that's already so real and so strong. From that moment on, something profoundly changed between them. Their relationship, once a careful dance between public and private, became an open book. Not in a reckless, public display of affection way, but in a way that was effortlessly, genuinely them. A few weeks later, they were at a public event, fielding questions from reporters. Xiao Zhan told a story about a funny incident on set, and as he spoke, his eyes met Wang Yibo'S. And in that second, without thinking, without needing a special song or a private moment, Wang Yibo smiled. It wasn't for the cameras, but the cameras caught it anyway. This time, there was no frenzy, no wild speculation. The public simply saw the smile and understood. It was no longer a rare event. It was simply a truth. A public reality born of a private, beautiful, and profound love.